All right, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm Nancy from Nancy Inspired, and I have a gift that I call soul telepathy. I'm able to hear what your soul is trying to tell you for your own highest and best good, your own evolution. When I do collective groups like this, I tap into what is the most important bit of messaging at this moment in time for everybody here, or those that listen later. And at the about halfway mark, I tap into individuals. Don't put your names in yet for individual readings because it'll get lost in the chat. I'll let you know when I'm ready. So I'm just going to ask for permission. Can I, may, and shall I do a reading for my Insight Timer friends and family, both those that listen now and those that listen later? And I'm getting a yes. Is there any reason why I shouldn't at this moment in time? I was kind of like, uh-oh, are we going to say no now? No, I got a no. There's no reason why I shouldn't. Then I ask that my intuition be raised to the highest level that can be accommodated with at this moment in time. And I ask that all of your intuition be raised to the highest level so that I can hear clearly what is for everyone's highest and best good. All right. I fully anticipated that I was going to be told no. So we'll see how this goes today, and I apologize if I have to run off and get a Kleenex or something. All right, where did I leave off? Hello, Melinda and Jamie and Janet. Greetings, everybody. Wonderful. Okie dokie. Well, let's get started. What do I hear for everybody? I do have a little bit of a headache. I'm kind of pushing through to hear some stuff, so let me just, I'm going to apologize if it's not as quick and clear as it normally is. All right. Interesting message. So what I just got was that things like colds and things like flus and things that, get you down, like me today, what it said was, it's just reminders of our humanness. And then what I got was that when we focus on our humanness, we stay small. When we focus on our divinity, we rise. And having a cold or a flu like this is kind of a focus on our humanness. But then I heard when we focus on that humanness, we stay small. When we focus on our divinity, we rise. By me connecting anyway to that divine source, that divine wisdom, it reminds me that the limitations that I put on myself, the limitations that I believe I have, are only passing limitations, and that when we are feeling limited, whatever that, for whatever reason, whenever we're feeling limited, what I'm hearing is connect to that divine wisdom, connect to that divine energy, connect to that's bigger than ourselves, because no matter what the limitations are, that helps us to rise out of those limitations, which I find really interesting because, there's part of me that's like, you should just be resting and do whatever. But actually, now that I'm tapping in and now that I'm, hearing it and feeling all of you, I actually am feeling lifted. I'm actually feeling elevated. And so that's the messaging I'm getting right now, is that when we do feel limited by whatever the limits are, that sometimes it's okay to connect to divine source, connect to divine strength, connect to collective consciousness, collective wisdom to help us out of those limitations. And that, okay, I just heard all limitations are designed to help us rise in some way. Now that's a tricky one. I always have trouble with this because, when crappy things happen or things aren't good or we're given extreme challenges, it's really hard sometimes to be like, oh, this is just a lesson for us to learn. It's just for us to rise. But in hindsight, when you look back, right, when you look back on these things, that is the very time when you rise the most. In the times in my life when I have struggled, when I have had challenges, as I have, connected to that inner wisdom, higher self, divine source, all those things to get me through those times. When I look back on those times, those are the very times that I learned the most, grew the most, developed the most, evolved the most. So, as much as we don't like them, those times where we feel limited are the very times that are meant to foster our most growth. So, I'm being told right now, and I was fully expecting to be told, no, I'm not going to be able to do this today. And I'm being told right now that no, acknowledge the limits, look after the limits, make sure I'm getting rest and fluids and all the things, but then connect to the divine to help me rise out of it. Exactly. I'm just reading some of the chat here. Absolutely, Jovita. When we connect with the divine, the life force energy flows through us and uplifts us. It really does. Like, I'm already feeling a lot better since I started. When I first came on, I was like, okay, here we go. This is going to be a tough one. But I'm actually already feeling uplifted. I'm already feeling that I'm not alone, that I'm not just down here, suffering in my cold. It's like, no, I am elevated. And that is the messaging, that when we are feeling low, we can connect to that which is beyond us in order to help us be elevated. Manucha, thank you. I'm happy you're here today too. And yes, lemons into lemonade. Lynn, I was looking for somewhere to connect today. I've been struggling with vertigo for a few months. I have migraine today, and I came for support right now. I'm so discouraged because you're also feeling unwell. I'm sure I'll get a helpful message. I think, Lynn, you've come to the right place. There's definitely some things going on. It sounds as they really want the collective messages through, even though you're not feeling well today. They'll help you. That's how I feel, right? Because I get told, it's only happened a couple of times where I've been told, no, you can't do this at this moment in time. But today I'm hearing exactly that. What I'm hearing at this exact moment is that right now I am being used as a model. Used isn't the right word. I am being accessed as a model that you can call on divine energy to help you when you are feeling limitations, because we all have limitations of different kinds at different times, and some are more than others, and some ebb and flow, some are a constant limitation. But I'm hearing that no matter what the limitations are, we can always connect to that divine source, to that collective wisdom, collective consciousness, that thing that's bigger than ourselves, God, if you will, to allow us to be uplifted. And okay, so then I also just heard the other factor in that is trust, is that there has to be some trust, or not has to be, there is encouraged. I got corrected in my words. Trust is encouraged, that when you trust that you're going to be uplifted, that you're going to be looked after, that you're going to be assisted in some way, it is, what I just heard is easier for them to help you. They'll still try to help you even if you don't trust, but it is much easier for them to help you if you trust. And I'm hearing to clarify that it's not a matter of you'll be helped if you trust because that's a reward for trusting. That's not what it is. The help is already there. The help is available. The help is connected to you whenever you need it. The trust just makes it a little easier to access. So it's kind of like, a paved 4-lane highway as opposed to a little lumpy, bumpy, unpaved gravel dirt road, right? It's easier when there's trust. You'll still get there. You'll still get the help. You'll still get the support, but it's easier when there's trust. What I'm also hearing to say is that help doesn't always look like what we want it to or what we expect. That sometimes when we are asking for some help and asking to be connected to that divine source, to be lifted out of our limitations, that sometimes that help doesn't always look like what we're expecting. But again, that trust is what I'm hearing. When you have that trust, you can recognize that the help, the assistance, the growth is always coming. It just might not look exactly as we expect it to. But yeah, to trust that you will be guided, you will be raised, you'll be lifted out of limitations. Now, I'm hearing another kind of a caveat. Being raised out of your limitations does not necessarily mean taking the limitations away. And that is something that I'm being asked to say clearly, that being raised out of the limitations does not always mean taking the limitations away, because sometimes those limitations are serving a purpose. Sometimes those limitations are serving sort of a higher purpose in terms of, maybe I have this cold right now because I am supposed to stay home and rest. I was supposed to be traveling the last couple days, and we ended up getting a blizzard here. Maybe this cold kept me from being on a road that wasn't safe, and so the limitations being removed isn't always what's best for us. And so we need to trust in the process and trust in the divine guidance of how things go. And then I just heard a little extra sense of humor is whether that's true or not, right? If you are suffering with a limitation, if you can hold on to the belief that there is a purpose in it, it's going to be a lot easier to stomach that limitation. It's going to be a lot easier to ride through those limitations or rise above those limitations. So even because I maybe there's people that are feeling skeptical or hearing like, well, I don't really want to hear this or whatever. But what I'm hearing is that even if it's not true, by allowing yourself to believe that there is a higher purpose to it and that there is an ability to connect to that divine source wisdom through limitations, is going to make the limitations easier. It doesn't take them away, but it's going to make them easier. I'm just going to look into the chat. Jovita is a super wise woman. She's like a sage, and if you need any information, connect with Jovita. When I had vertigo for months, it was linked to the imbalance of safety within myself. Change of the perception of how safe I feel within myself in difficult situations cleared it for me. Interesting. Maybe it will give you some directions to resolve your vertigo, sending you plenty of healing energy. I know how challenging the vertigo is. Excellent. I don't know if that resonates with you, Lynn, but Jovita is a very wise, very perceptive, very intuitive woman. All right. I'm just going to hear, is there anything else on that? Take a sip of lemon ginger echinacea tea. All right. Let me tap in. What else? What else is the important messaging? Okay. What I just heard, actually, it was funny because as I was looking down, what I became aware of, I've learned that messaging comes in really subtle ways sometimes, and it's like just you just notice something, and then I ask, is that part of the messaging? And then I hear yes, and then I hear the messaging. So just now, as I was looking down, I noticed my pinky finger, and I was like, okay, am I noticing my pinky finger because I'm looking at it, or is that the messaging? And I heard it's the messaging. And what I heard is that sometimes we are so focused on the big goals, the end game, where we're heading, what's going on next, or the kind of the bigger pieces, that we forget about the importance of all the little pieces that are involved. It's like the example I'm being given right now is like a concert. You go and see a concert or like a big show, and there's the performer on stage, but behind that performer, you've got people that are like running the lighting, running the sound, stage managing, choreographing, hauling cables, setting out the food, whatever. There's so many other parts to it that we consider to be smaller parts because of the one, showy part that's on the stage. Well, that showy part that's on the stage could not happen without all of the smaller parts. So what I'm hearing in terms of how this translates to messaging for us is that all the little steps are important. So when you are trying to achieve a goal, or coming up to New Year's here, and I know lots of people kind of set resolutions or goals during New Year's. And what I'm hearing is that when you're setting a goal, no matter how you're setting it, when you're setting it, remember that every little step is actually getting you to the end game. And so celebrate the little steps, the little successes. I'm also hearing don't minimize the little steps. So sometimes we like to skip over the little steps and try to jump right into the big part without doing the learning, without doing the little steps. I know I tend to be a bit impulsive and jump in and be like, okay, I'll figure it out as I go. And I'm hearing, don't underestimate the power of the little steps. And it's interesting because it wasn't my pinky finger, but I broke my little pinky toe one time. And I was amazed at how much it affected my balance, my ability to wear any kind of footwear. Like my whole balance was off, so then I ended up with like a sore back, and it was like, you know, you don't really think of the importance of your pinky toe, but all of it is part of it. And so if you are setting yourself a goal, especially I'm hearing if it's a challenging one, if there's something that's challenging you and you've been putting it off because it's like, you know, it's going to be hard and whatnot, remember, you know, there's that famous quote, I just heard it in my head. It's like a journey or something begins with a single step, or a journey of 1,000 miles, there it goes, begins with a single step, right? And what I'm also hearing, I just heard, it's like a dance. Sometimes you go 2 steps forward and then a step back, and then 2 steps forward and then a step back. But every step you're taking, even those backward steps, are part of the dance. They're part of the journey. And so what I'm hearing is that when you're setting goals, when you're trying to move forward, when you're trying to do something, don't underestimate the power of those little small steps, those things that seem like unimportant details, or oh, it's just a tiny drop in the bucket. Oh, I drank an extra glass of water today, or I, you know, meditated for 5 minutes today, and we're thinking, oh, but I should be meditating for 45 minutes. You know, if you did it for 5 minutes today versus not doing it at all, then that is a single step to celebrate, right? Or, you know, if your goal is drink more water and you happen to drink extra glass of water today but forget tomorrow, you know what? It's okay, right? It's a dance. And not to recognize, I was going to say not to be hard on yourself, but to recognize that the little details are actually really, really important. And, you know, if you've ever broken your pinky toe, you know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, let me just hear what's next. Looking at the chat, looks like everyone's just saying hello to everybody, which is fabulous. Trials and tribulations can turn into triumphs. Oh, I love that, Molly. Absolutely. Trials and tribulations can turn into triumphs. And honestly, what you learn along the way, you know, those little steps or those little bits of momentum, sometimes that's what leads to the other. Okay, so I just got given an image. Okay, so when you want something to change, this, I don't know, I saw a video a long time ago at some kind of conference or something, educational conference, and I think it was called like a change something. Anyway, and the idea was that it showed this hill, and this is the image I was just given. It was a reminder of this. It showed this hill, like it looked like a festival of some kind, people listening to music, whatever. And everyone's sitting and listening to the music. And there's one guy who just starts dancing, like crazy, just enjoying himself, dancing by himself. And then eventually, you know, another person comes on and starts to dance with him. And then, you know, eventually another person comes on. And then at some point, there's enough that it creates a momentum. I don't remember in the video it talked about a certain amount, but what I remember the image being is that at a certain point, everybody became motivated to get up and dance because of the one guy that was like, that started it off, right? And then created momentum, and then eventually there was more and there was more, and then it became a whole, the whole hill is dancing. And that's what I'm hearing, is that sometimes we have one little goal, we have one little step, and when we've done that little step, then maybe we take a couple more steps, and then we take a couple more steps, and the next thing you know, we're on our way to achieving that goal, and we can look back and go, hey, I'm actually totally doing this now, as opposed to like, doing the one step. So recognizing that by doing the little steps, we create that sort of tipping point, the word I'm hearing is tipping point for momentum. I know that's not what it was in the video, but like tipping point for momentum for us is that every little step that we take, even if it's not, you know, rah, exactly everything we want, every little step that we take is one more step closer to that momentum, right? Where eventually it starts moving itself, right? They say it takes 21 days to build a habit. That's what I'm hearing. That's the same thing as that momentum. By doing it once and then doing it again and then doing it again. And then maybe we forget a few days and then we do it again. You know, eventually it builds that momentum until it actually becomes a habit, till it becomes a part of us, till it becomes like second nature to what we're doing. I really like that image. I'm gonna have to find that video again. It was talking more about change in terms of like starting, like creating a climate. It was, I think it was during my master's degree. It was creating a climate for change and being a leader to create a climate for change. But the image I'm getting is the same for goal setting and for the steps that we're trying to take towards a goal, is that as you take that step, you know, when another step joins it and another step joins it, another step joins it, eventually we get the momentum. And so do not underestimate the little steps, the single steps that get taken towards a goal. I'm hearing, interesting, I've been trying to do some quantum learning where I've been trying to meditate and talk to like another version of myself. And the other day, I'm being asked to tell you the story. So the other day, I asked, you know, how did you get, you know, where, in terms of the particular goal I was looking at. And the answer I heard was the individual steps don't matter. It's the fact that I kept focus on wanting to and wanting to move forward. And so it's funny because that's contradictory to what I just said. But what it is, I'm realizing that the message now is a lot more clear in that every little step creates that momentum. So I don't need to focus on the big step, on the little steps as being like, oh, it was just a tiny step. It becomes part of the whole momentum. So we don't even know how it started out. What little step created that flow? So I don't need to focus on which particular little step I took. It was as long as I keep taking little steps, eventually that momentum will come. And then the particular little step that it was is not the important part anymore. It's the momentum that's coming. It's the learning that's coming. It's the evolution that's coming. Through that momentum. So as much as the little steps are important and we need to celebrate as we take those little steps, eventually in terms of bringing goals to fruition and evolving into where we want to go, those little steps kind of blur together. And I realize that that's what the image in my meditation was trying to say, is that it's not a single particular step. It's all the little steps are important. All the little steps that we take towards making our lives better, ourselves better, and elevating our own vibration and elevating that around all of us. All right. Let me listen. Got a few good messages. I'm so glad I was able to do this today. I really wanted to, but I was prepared that if I was told no, then I was like, okay, no. But I really wanted to, so I'm glad I'm here. Thank you all for being here with me as well. All right, any other collective wisdom for today? Okay, this is also on goal setting. I guess we're approaching New Year's. Lots of people do goal setting, but I mean, I find I start setting goals at any time of the year. In fact, I find spring to be my biggest time for setting goals. But anyway, what I'm hearing is that, so what I caught in my mind, I haven't skied since I was, I don't know, in my 20s, I think. But what I got an image of was when you're skiing down a hill and this way looks too challenging, you go another way. But you keep the momentum. You're still going, and you, instead of going this way, you go the other way. So what I'm hearing is that when you're setting goals, when you're trying to reach goals, and something is hard, something feels unsurmountable. I mean, sometimes we have to kind of go through, oh, okay, I just got full circle, this divine, when something's hard, sometimes that's the time when you're calling on that divine energy, that divine spirit to help you get through it, just like me doing a reading today while I have a cold. So we're going full circle from the first bit of messaging. But sometimes it's about taking a slightly different path. That the path that we planned on taking, it's like, okay, you know what? This isn't working. I'm going to try it this way. So it's not about abandoning the plan. It's about saying, okay, maybe we need to go about it a slightly different way. So what I'm hearing is that with our goals that we're setting, I love how this is kind of all wrapping up full circle. I love it when it does this. Makes me feel like I actually planned it that way or something. What I'm hearing is that as we're setting goals, as we're trying to move forward, don't get caught up by our limitations. Recognize that your limitations are there to teach you something. Your limitations are there to help you rise, and that you can call on divine source energy, collective wisdom, God, to help you. You can channel that divine energy to help you. The next part is that every single little step towards your goal, towards where you're going, creates that momentum, creates that pathway. Even if we step backwards a little bit and then step forwards, every little step towards, as long as we're kind of keeping that goal in mind, will get us there. And then as much as those little individual steps are important, eventually they blur together, so we can't identify which particular individual step was the one step that made everything different. So they're important, but not important at the same time. And then the last part, sorry, I'm gonna excuse me. Lost my train of thought for 1 second as I was joking. Momentum. Oh, the ski hill. Yeah, I right away got the image. Thank you. Is that if one pathway towards your goal seems challenging or hard, or that it's not accessible, that there are other ways, that there is always another way. And I'm being given another image. I went swimming a while back with my granddaughter, and there was a mother there who, I'm not sure what was happening for her. She was in a wheelchair with very limited mobility. Looked like, she could use her head and one of her hands, and that was about it. And there was somebody in the pool with her children, but she was on the side of the pool, and she was celebrating, like she was laughing, and the kids would show her something, and she would, laugh and respond, and she was present, and she was there. And I remember being so touched by that, because it would be so easy to say, someone else can take them swimming, I'll stay home, right? But she wanted to be part of their swimming, their life, their celebration, and she found a way to do that. And so what I'm hearing is that even though it's not easy, sometimes there's another way. If the most obvious way is not available to us, that ask, is there another way? Is there another way that this could become available to me? And I just heard, it's as simple as that. So that's what I just heard. It's as simple as that. You can ask, is there another way that this can become available to me? Because there are multiple pathways towards towards the goals that you're trying to set and the things that you're trying to do. So calling on that divine energy, divine wisdom, recognizing that all the little steps are important, and that if one step or one pathway seems inaccessible, to recognize that there are other pathways available, that is always another way to try and do something. All right, let me take a sip. And let me just hear if there's any other collective wisdom for today. All right, there's the last bit. I was thinking that there wasn't, but there is. And that is to remember that we are all divine beings on a divine path. And our limitations, all of the struggles, the trials, the tribulations, the traumas, all the different things that we have experienced, that we are here for a reason. We are on a divine path. We are here for a reason. We are here to fulfill something. And I know this is in my course, the Joy Blueprint. I'm going to just do this. I wrote a course for Insight Timer, and the last day of it is about us being divine, that even our creation is divine. And I'm hearing to remind us of this message. I get reminded of this message a lot, especially when I'm feeling low. It's like, remember that we are divine beings. That when I was researching for this part of the course, it was the chances of even conception happening. There are so many variables that have to come together in order to even conceive. Then for the child to develop, there are billions of combinations of things that can happen. And then there's even a process within the cells, as the cells divide, called meiosis, that even changes those things again. So the chances of you being created the way you are at the time that you are is like astronomically impossible, and yet you're here. And so for no other reason than to remember that you are part of this divine process. You are here for a reason. So if you're experiencing limitations, if you're experiencing challenges, if you're experiencing blocked pathways, there is always another way open to you. There is always another pathway for you. There is always divine support for you, because you are divine. You are made from that divine seed. You are made in that divine light. In that course as well, in that last day, as I was researching, there's also the fact that our carbon, our like what we're made of, is the same as, stars that have exploded at some point. So we're literally made of stardust. So we are divine, and so we are miracles. We are living, breathing miracles. And so the limitations we have, or the challenges that we have, or the things that we're trying to face or overcome, are all part of this divine miracle. And so to remember that and call on that divine space when you need it, as we're setting goals, as we're evolving. All right. I'm going to just check the chat here. Oh, hold on. Aw, thank you for all the hearts going up. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. I have the best mug collection. Thank you. Manucha, I will call for individual names in just a little bit. This mug actually came from Mexico. I did a meditation yoga retreat, and it's a hand-painted mug. I don't collect mugs because I don't have a lot of them, but I have special mugs from special places. Yovita, so interesting. I channeled the message today that sometimes a change of the direction is needed to get where I want. There you go. What I saw, Yovita, was like a ski hill. If you've ever had a chance to ski, and I remember it's been a long time, but as you're skiing and this side's too hard, it's like, okay, we're going to do this route instead. And sometimes there's a signpost and you're like, okay, this one looks too challenging for me. I don't feel safe doing that. I'm going to take this route. Might take a little longer, but I can do that. And so recognizing that there's always ways. Awesome. Hello from Brooklyn. Wonderful. Oh, Tessa, thank you. I'm glad you've done my course. I worked hard on that course. I'm actually making it into a book. I decided to make it into a little, like an actual book, and add some more to it. Hannah, I love the miracle of life. I look at my children all the time and think, oh, I lost it. how lucky I am to have them. Absolutely, they are a miracle. Awesome. Perfect messaging as we head into a year one cycle. I love Alicia's wisdom. Alicia's another one that's super wise. I'm going to read this. Perfect messaging as we head into a year one cycle next year. One of the fire horse. All about living our authentic self from our heart and souls, removing the masks, no longer pretending or living from illusion. Love it, Nancy. Let's all move into that divine timeline that awaits us in this new year. One cycle jump on to be authentic and live your dreams. 100%. Alicia, that makes so much sense. That's definitely the energy that I've been gravitating towards, is sort of shedding the I tend to be apologetic, more apologetic than I need to be, and sort of shedding that, always living from compassion, but being like, you know what, I'm going to be my authentic self and try to embrace that. So I love that. Thank you for validating. All right, let's move into the second portion, the individual readings. I'm going to turn off my recording.